All right, everybody, welcome back. This is going to be episode 5 of the Dad Jokes and Deep Dives podcast. Travis and I again by ourselves. With baseball season and flag football and all that stuff. Brad and Brian are very active. We do want to get them on very soon, but as of right now, I don't even mention it to them as of right now, just because I know everybody's so busy. It's really kind of hard to get everybody in, and me and you usually can knock one of these out in my lunch break. So,
yeah, I talked to Brad yesterday. He's been working a lot. They've been doing some sparking and stuff, and trying to get at some debt and stuff like that. So,
oh yeah,
I know he's been covered up, especially. And then the boys are pretty active, and like you said, ball games, stuff like that.
So usually for us, it's kind of easier for us to get together because we can do stuff on our lunch break, and then on Saturdays you usually get done. We haven't done one yet on a Saturday, but we've discussed it because sometimes you get done a little early, and a lot of my time revolves around when Ashley is not here. So she's not a big fan of having a bunch of people over, and nothing wrong with that. I get it. It's people like their alone time, but I usually try to fit it in when she's not around. So.
Yeah.
One of the topics I wanted to discuss today, we kind of touched on a little bit last week because we've got a lot of you and I both have a lot of yard projects going on. But one of the topics we had on the Lost episode was like chores and things we like to do, especially as dads, things that we don't like to do. Right now, you're kind of in the middle of a fire pit backyard project. You kind of touched on it a little bit this week. But you're continue to work on that, get some rocks and put down. So how's that project currently going?
It's so hard, dude, because I keep going back and forth about ways I want it to look and what I want to use, the materials I want to use. So I've just been basically spending so much time looking at other fire pits on Pinterest or watching YouTube videos, and then I realized that I spent hours just doing that and when I could have just been
not
getting
doing
started.
the work.
Yeah. So you could see it from our, obviously from our windows out back, and I'll just sit there with my cup of coffee looking at the empty spot and think, man, I wish it was done. Like I'm not very handy. I didn't grow up doing a lot of yard work. I think we talked about that before. So a lot of it is just YouTube, and I'm really indecisive. I have a hard time making decisions.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, especially when you're talking about a substantial cost of money.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah. And that's the other thing is, man, I went to, we talked about this in the episode that we lost, but I went to a place that has a lot of like hardscapes and stones and that specialize in like landscaping hardscapes. And I saw some rock that I wanted to use as a border. Mm-hmm. And a pallet of that rock, which I would love to have, that stone, it's like uneven stones, probably, ranging in this size or whatever, nice for like, edging and stuff like that. It's like $700 for like a pallet.
Yeah, sure.
So I was like, man, I got to go the cheaper route. And then you were talking about using just gravel in your landscaping and getting a pretty good price on that. So that kind of inspired me maybe to think about some different things. But I'm still, I'm today going to have to put something in that spot, and I still don't know what I'm going to use.
Right.
So I'm just,
which
it's more frustrating than anything.
For me, last time we talked, I think, so Friday I took off a couple hours early from work it was going to rain all weekend, and I was trying to get a project done. Well, I had a little bit of rock still I needed to put in these flower beds we were talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I got no planning involved.
Yeah.
I got this harebrained idea to build a sidewalk from my driveway to the house, and that was the reason for that is I didn't want to go up to the quarry and get like a little bit of gravel, and it was more work just to get a little scoop than it would be just to get a big scoop.
Yeah.
So I got like a full ton, and had them fill that up. Well, when I got back, I was able to make basically a sidewalk out of gravel. But again, no planning was involved. So right now, where it rained all weekend, my stones are all floating around, and I put a little bit more effort into it. But to give you an idea of cost, it was $19 and some change for a truckload of that gravel. So
wow.
I mean, I know we bore you guys with some of this, but some of it's interesting, and you guys can learn. One of these days, we might, when Travis gets his project done on our Dad Jokes and Deep Dives podcast, maybe we could post some pictures just for people to see or whatever.
Yeah, I'm excited about getting it done, and I have a lot of. This is something I've been thinking about, and I think this is where me and you differ a little bit. You're more like, you get that idea, that last minute idea, and you just go get it done.
Yeah.
And where I will plan it to death until I'm eventually just like tired of it. That's kind of how I am now. Yeah, that's how I am now. If I wouldn't have broke ground yesterday, because basically I've got this little. It's probably, I think I said maybe 20 by 20, but maybe like 20 by 18 rectangle shape in my backyard that's all kind of fenced in and bordered in, and I want to make a circle fire pit. So we figured out we needed probably a 12-foot radius circle, because the fire pit I bought, a little smokeless fire pit, was like, it's relatively small, because I couldn't do anything. I figured out I couldn't do anything big.
Yeah.
So yesterday I finally leveled the ground again, where I had all that extra dirt from those beds that we took up, and I made the circle. I put down the edging. Well, then I decided I need to dig out some of that excess dirt, because I didn't want the gravel. I wanted the gravel to be deeper. And I didn't want gravel spilling out over the edging.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And typically fire pits, they dig them down so many inches, and they have a base layer of this and this and this. And I don't know how deep I'll go into that, but I did dig some of that out, dude. I didn't realize how much dirt there is.
Oh yeah. And digging is never fun,
dude. It sucks. Even with with that dirt being like broken up, I had messed with it so many times. It was an easy project. Plus it was wet from all the rain. I started digging dirt out. And I'm scooping dirt. Next thing I know, I have these mountains of dirt around it, and it actually looked kind of cool. I almost wish I just left them, because it made the fire pit look like a sunken fire pit. But eventually, I ended up filling a whole wheelbarrow full and spreading out the excess, and I was able to still accomplish that kind of, the fire pit's kind of down and the ground's kind of up around it. So today is all about getting the fat landscape fabric down, getting something in there. As far as gravel goes, and just kind of finally seeing the vision kind of come together. Then I can I got to redo my walkway leading out to it and do some other crap. But it's not been fun. It takes me back to watching my dad struggle to do things. My dad put up pools, man, by himself, level ground by himself with shovels.
Yeah.
To put up pools. And to do, he built at their house in Sunbeam, he built I seen him build like a nice little retaining wall type of deal and landscape it and stuff in a kind of an awkward spot they had in the backyard. And I would watch him struggle to do that stuff and hear him talk about, the hiccups he would have. And now here I am living it, and I'm like, I wish I would have helped him, because it is a pain, because I am doing a lot of it by myself. My father-in-law does help me he kind of came over, helped me figure out the circle and stuff, because he's good with all that. But, you said Ashley kind of helped you with your sidewalk out there?
Yeah, so normally if it's outside work, that's the Thomas section, and the inside work is the Ashley section. But she's off on Friday, so she knew I had that project. So she, and like I said, the sky was almost black by the time I got the gravel and it got started. So
it got nasty.
She knew it was going to get bad, so she was helping me. She was raking all the gravel, and I was in the back of the truck, and I'd fill up a 5-gallon bucket of gravel. She would take the bucket and go dump it. So I mean, she was very, very helpful.
Is that where when we talk about the household chores and stuff, is that kind of where most of your priorities lie? Yeah.
So all the priorities of mine lie outside, of course, except for just a few things inside. And we don't, like we said on the last episode, we don't divvy out chores. Yeah. It's not like I say,
it's not a formal thing.
You've got to do the dishes and this and that. She does most of the inside stuff because she's awesome at it. She does an excellent job cleaning and all that stuff. Of course, I try to do the outside stuff. But, I mean, I do, take out the trash and load the dishwasher. Usually, if I'm home working, I try to run laundry. She'll make fun of me because a lot of time my version of laundry is put it in the washer, put it in the dryer, and then leave it.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then when she gets home from work, she'll fold it.
We do
at least
that.
I get started.
We do that sometimes too. Because I do quite a bit of laundry. I don't mind doing it so much. I always feel like it's very overwhelming when I start, but then it ends up being like 2 or 3 loads. Like I got some going now, but one thing we do whoever does a load, sometimes we'll leave that last load in the dryer and it'll just sit in there for like a day, and we keep starting it back
for 20 or 40 minutes or something,
refluffing it or whatever, and then procrastinating about folding it, and finally you get it out of there. So usually when you start, I usually only do laundry on the days I'm off. It's kind of part of the routine, but usually you start with a load in the dryer. And you're like, damn. Like I thought I was starting like clean, and you forget about that load that's been in there all week. But we're like you. We don't. I kind of wish we had a more formal way. Like I almost wish we would put it down like in the notes, like we're going to clean this day, because my house is not disgusting by any means. We're not hoarders. We're not this and this, but we do let it get kind of cluttery.
Yeah.
The kitchen counters where everything goes to die.
Yeah. That's like your storage bin for mail.
Yeah. Yeah. Your mail, you're just like, the mail's kind of taking over one whole section, and we kind of lay it out. If it's important, it goes, maybe the bills I'll put in like a specific drawer.
Yeah.
But if it's anything semi-important, it just kind of sits there until I let Rachel look at it. Then the rest of the crap gets thrown away. But there'll be snacks and stuff kind of setting out. So I kind of wish sometimes we did, because I do love that feeling. Because Rachel, what she does is she does a lot of the inside cleaning. She'll vacuum like once a week or whatever. With the dogs, just you're chasing that battle all the time with 2 Australian Shepherds, dude. I don't know if y'all know, like if anybody listen to this has Australian Shepherds, but they're the sheddingest dog you've ever seen in your life. So you're constantly kind of fighting that. But I do love that feeling. Like occasionally I'll come home. I mean, she works full time too, so I don't expect her to come home and try to clean every day, but she'll come. Sometimes she'll get a wild hair and she'll clean everything like once in a while, like really good, top to bottom, dusting, vacuuming, any type of rearranging. I'll come home and all of a sudden everything will be clean. There'll be these candles lit, everything's smelling good, and man, that feeling
is so amazing and relaxing.
Oh man, I love coming into the house and like there's just lamps and candles and everything's clean, and I'll be like, dang, the house looks good, and it kind of takes me back. I think me and you talked about this.
Yeah, we talked in the last episode. There was no better feeling as a kid than being at school all day and then coming home and your mom had cleaned your room. And mom not only would clean my room, a lot of times mom was big into like rearranging things. So like, I might come home and my bed, dresser, and toy box might be in a completely different spot.
Yeah.
But it just, to have your bed made, the floor vacuum. Well, of course, we always lived in military housing, so very rarely did we actually have carpet.
Yeah,
it was like a towel or something like that. But I mean, everything would be done, and it would just be such an awesome feeling. And Ashley does that for Aiden now, and I don't think he fully appreciates what that is.
He will.
And he will. But like, Friday, this past Friday, before she helped me outside, I worked that morning. While I was working, she was cleaning house, and she did it then. I went in his room, floor vacuumed, bed made, shams all up on the just it's an awesome feeling having that done. And because this is leading up, we are in Mother's Day week.
Yeah.
So with that being said, happy Mother's Day, Mom. Yeah. And I'm sure you want to do the same. But,
happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, but my wife and my mom, especially mother-in-law, got lots of good moms. My sisters, lots of good moms out there.
They do a lot of things that are unseen or that just get taken for granted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Rachel's been. Not only is they've got finals week, so the kids are rowdy this week.
Yeah.
And it's been kind of stressful for that. They're both. They see that light at the end of the tunnel. School's almost out. Rachel and Maggie both it's right there. They can touch it, but it's getting through finals week. So she's dealing with all that. Not only that, but planning the big 16th birthday party coming up in a month.
That's awesome.
so she's got all that going on, and then my mom, she I feel like she probably doesn't get rewarded enough for everything she's done for us and my brother and sisters and all the grandkids. But speaking of that, stressing out about that too. You got this project going on and all that, and then Rachel asked me last night. She's like, "Have you thought about what we could get your mom?" And I was like, "Oh." Like it dawned on me, we're less than a week away, Sunday.
Yeah.
And my mom is, I don't know how it is with your mom, but like, moms are so hard to, like, I feel like they're hard to get something for.
Well,
I can't figure my mom out. Like,
I think that's even more of an adult thing. And my mom this year for Christmas, even, we, instead of giving gifts, and she did get us a few little odds and end things, but instead of giving gifts, I got those sweet Hey Dude Dale Earnhardt Jr. Green Sundrop shoes. But anyways, as we get older, buying gifts for people is not fun anyway, because most of us adults have bought what we wanted throughout the year anyway.
That's
you know
true.
what I mean? So like mom did specifically ask for something. She wanted one of those like bog bags. They're getting ready to go to Florida in a couple weeks, and she wanted one of those bog bags to kind of like take to the beach. Yeah. It wasn't bog. I don't have that kind of money, but it was like a Simply Southern type.
Yeah.
But
never heard of bog or whatever. I've heard of Simply
plastic
Southern. Yeah, it's like a tote
bags
thing
or whatever. But like Ashley, for instance, she made a comment of something she wanted, so I did get it for her. But normally Ashley won't ask for things. She doesn't.
Yeah,
I just have to kind of just guess and hope I do right.
Rachel never talks about anything she wants, really. It's always about most of our spending or talking about what we get is probably more like Maggie, especially with her party coming up and everything. So it's hard to gauge her, but like we always have the same issue with my mom and my mother-in-law, because especially my mother-in-law, like they're retired now, and they do a lot of projects around the house. So anything they want, that she just gets.
Yeah.
She's ordering something every day. She's putting landscape lighting out, which I'm like, I need some of that too. Every day I see them over there doing stuff, so they get what they want. So it's like, man, what do you get people that don't have kids in the house? They're buying what they want, when they want it. So it's just tough. I'll probably just settle for the generic gift card.
Yeah.
I feel so bad. My mom's probably gotten more gift cards from me than like a person would get from their place of work for like their anniversary. Like, here's another gift card to whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I kind of feel like that CEO that's like, here you go for your 15th anniversary, another Cracker Barrel gift card.
Which is a good place for retired people.
Yeah. She loves They do love Cracker Barrel. That used to be a joke about my mom. We would always give her a hard time when we would go on vacation. We would always say she always wanted to eat a Cracker Barrel, and we never wanted to eat a place we could eat at home.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how much they go there now, but that used to be a common joke. We'd give Mom a Cracker Barrel gift card, get Dad Starbucks gift card, or Chipotle. Dad loves his coffee, so I feel like you could never go wrong there. He's probably got 100,000 Dad mugs, like number one Dad.
Oh yeah.
Thermoses or whatever. So it's funny how you usually like Christmas time, Father's Day, Mother's Day, the texts start firing up with me and Tasha, or me and Ty were like, have you got Mom anything? You got Dad anything? Like, got any ideas? And we're all the same. We're all like, don't have a clue.
Right, yeah, for sure. Dad here lately, on Father's Days, it's funny because I had been on like a hat. I got him a few years ago, I got him a Fin Commander hat, which is like Duck Commander's fish category thing, Duck Dynasty type thing. Well, I got him a Fin Commander hat, which kind of started a trend of getting him hats.
Oh, nice.
Well, it just so happens that we all started dieting. They started doing keto and stuff too. Well, Dad lost a bunch of weight, and a lot of it was in his head. Guess who?
No way.
Guess who now owns all the hats? Like he can't. One of the ones he was like, it was a Columbia hat, and he goes, hey, you want this? I was like, he goes, yeah, it's gotten too small for my head, so I took it. Well, a couple weeks later, he starts handing me like 3 more of these Columbia hats, and I'm like, these are the ones I got you for Christmas, man. Like, quit giving them back.
So is he legit has lost weight in his head?
Well, it's not like it's funny because me and you, even though you're a slender guy, we've always talked about how we have a very similar,
my head is huge.
We have
and
a very
I have not
similar
lost any
circumference in our head.
I haven't lost any weight in my head since. Have you?
I've not. No, like this is an extra large fitted hat, and I mean it's to the max.
That hat
like
rules, by the way.
I wish these New Era hats. I
Days of
don't know
Thunder,
for those of you all who watch. I love the New Era fitted hats, but these ones that have the mesh background, I don't know if you can see that hump. But for those listening, these hats have a hump that make me look like I have a knot on my head, and they're so annoying, but they're so cool. Like,
That hat rules.
So I do wear it every now and then, but
that's so funny, dude.
But yeah, he's given me like 4 hats in the last couple.
He's bragging about it. He's like, my head's lost so much weight. Sorry, you got a giant head. Maybe you could put these hats to use. Like, I have to wear. I'm so. I've always been like self-conscious about wearing hats because my head's always been big. So even as a kid, they didn't do fitted hats when we were kids. They were always snap or whatever. Well, I'd always have to have mine on like. I like my hat I wear at work. Sometimes I wear a couple hats at work because they give us hats all the time. There'll be 2 notches.
Yeah, two pegs.
So I'm like, if anybody ever looks at my head, because I wear them backwards a lot of times. I that's another thing about a hat. I've gotten to where when I got it on, I just mess with it all the time. So I'll wear it backwards and I'll turn it around, and I'm like, I hope nobody pays attention to the amount of notches.
Yeah.
That I have, because they would be like, good grief, man, like, I would like to think that maybe you lose a little head weight when you lose weight, but am I going to end up eventually looking like I'm orange on a toothpick? Because I'm losing weight everywhere else.
When I put my fingers to my head, though, I know this is such an awkward conversation. I mean, I don't feel there's tons of fat to lose.
Have a fat head?
I don't know that I'm going to gain that much space. But
no, mine's all skull.
Head,
I'm not. The skull's not going to get any smaller. Hopefully, like I just got a giant knobby skull.
But it's just funny going back to the gift thing. Like I said, Mom and Dad. Ashley's like, I never know what to get you. We talk about shoes. She bought me some cool shoes for Christmas. She bought me some cool shoes for, I think it was Valentine's Day. But outside of that, a lot of times she struggles because before it gets to that day, I've done bought what she might have already had in mind or whatever the case is.
I feel like I'm the easiest person in the world. And I feel like and it's the reason I struggle is probably because it's probably me more than it is the people I'm trying to buy for. But I feel like I'm the last minute guy. Yeah. Like you're talking about with Ashley, I feel like I'm the week of ordering, trying to catch a hint here and there. Or Maggie's old enough now. I'll ask her like, what's Mom like? What's, because she probably hears it more than I do. Right. She'll probably catch the hints or whatever, or see her Pinterest or whatever she's looking at on the iPad. But it's something I absolutely dread doing, man. I get so, it's just like the working in the yard. I'm unprepared. I'm wishy-washy. Like, I would love to be able to make a decision someday and just feel confident about it. Right. Yeah, for sure. I'd like to get up tomorrow and go to work and be like, hey, I did that and did that right, and I didn't second guess myself, but rarely ever happens. It rarely ever happens.
That's it's funny about the second guessing. I've got a big exam I've got to take for work on Friday. It's in Louisville. It's for like a human resources exam, and that's why I was telling Ashley she was going to ride up there with me, and she was like, "Well, how long is it?" And I said, "Well, it's 4 hours." She's like, "So I'm gonna have to sit in the car for 4 hours?" I was like, normally when
I drive around Louisville.
Yeah, she ain't doing that. She can't drive anywhere outside of E-Town. So I told her, I said normally when I take a test, I don't like to second guess myself. I don't like to go back. I'm not one of those people that like to go back and read every question. I said, so if whatever the shortest amount of possible to get through those questions, it'll probably be like how long it takes me. Because if I go back and start second guessing myself, I'll change every one of them freaking answers, and I'll even I'll muck it up even worse.
I've done it many times. That's exactly what I would do. I would sit there and go, yeah, I'm going to spend every bit of this 4 hours because I'm going to go back and change it like multiple times. Ugh.
I got to take it like
it's so tough being like that. Yeah. So you get a big test that feels a lot like school. It makes me sweaty.
It does. This is probably like one of the bigger things I've had to do since like the ACT. I don't know if do you remember taking the ACT?
I remember
it was such a lot of prep for that.
Me, a group of us went and took it one time.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
I think so. Well, I don't know if I went with y'all because I took mine in high school. But I feel like you and probably our ex-girlfriends
we went and I know you went with us. I think.
Yeah, I probably
we all
just
went up there to
somewhere,
E-Town.
but yeah, I remember what you're talking about. But I mean, like there was a lot of stress in this. There's a lot of stress involved. Man, I've studied and it's been something I've been working on for like the past 3 years. It's an exam to give me a certification for human resources. I know I'm boring you guys, but the funny thing about it is like I do the job every day. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to upset my boss if he ever listens to this, but I don't. Is the certification good? Yes. Is the certification going to help me if I leave this job and go somewhere else? Yes. I don't plan on leaving the job I'm in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know hundreds of people, thousands of people are saying that right now. I don't plan to leave my job.
Yeah.
I don't plan to leave it. Obviously, things can change, but if things changed, I don't know that I would stay in human resources. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, we had this is kind of off the topic, but my boss cooked us steaks yesterday at work.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And talk about a nice little bonus. No, we have to have like a district meeting once a period, and most of the time it's over like Teams or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be Zoom or whatever we used to use, so it's usually not in person. Ever since COVID, they just get away from that sort of thing.
Right.
But yesterday he was like, we're having it in person. He's like, I'm gonna have grilled steaks and this and that. So that was nice. I actually hung out at work longer. I would have got off way early. But I went there and we were all eating steaks and having a good time. So
that's one of the biggest things I miss about, and it's not the eating necessarily portion of it, but I work from home 90% of the time. When you go into office now, I might have a couple conversations with people, but there's no interaction like it used to be. Whenever before COVID, I was in the office every day, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now it's not like you don't have that camaraderie and that events like that. We used to have all kinds of stuff. So.
We don't have that very often because we're all kind of coming and going as we please. Some guys start their routes early, some guys start later. Get in early, get in. And most guys when they get in, they're ready to get home.
Yeah.
But yesterday, and I was back early. I was like, I'm not going to see anybody, and I wanted to see the guys. A lot of the guys you don't see hardly at all. Some guys work out of E-Town, Mufferville, whatever. And but yesterday, by the time I left, there was like 6 or 7 of us in there just chilling. It was a good time. So it is kind of nice to have those days where you get to go in there and joke around and compare stories and stuff like that.
Right.
So it was a nice little day to be a different day at work. My job's kind of repetitive, and if it's a normal week and you're not having any issues or anything, it does kind of get boring. I mean, I love my job like you. I don't want to leave it, and I wouldn't leave it if I didn't have, if I wasn't forced to. I'll probably stay with this forever. But it is kind of one of those boring jobs, and it's like a what did I call it? Like a thinkless job or thoughtless job. It's like anybody can really do it. There's not a ton of, like, you have, sometimes you talk about some of this human resources stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like, you got to deal with a lot. Mine's just like, oh, is my handheld going to work today?
Yeah.
Is there some weird thing going on? Did we get our orders? Like, thoughtless work. So it's nice,
Sometimes I miss that. Like, back when you talk about Brad doing Spark Delivery, back when we were doing Spark Delivery stuff, you and I, when you would go in and shop for an order, and I would put my AirPods in, and I would just set my mind to, hey, I'm going to go pick this person's groceries and I'm gonna get out of here.
Yep.
Like, it made me miss that part about work. Like, because now, you have to...
Just a dumb, boring...
It's always something going on at my job.
Yeah.
A stressful situation mentally. Do I have hard work where I'm using my muscles and getting tired? No. But I am having a lot of hard mental stuff. So sometimes that gets old, but,
I was talking with Brad about Spark yesterday. I saw him... I was at my last stop. He pulled in there and said hello. And he said they've been hitting it pretty hard. And he said they've been making pretty good money at it. And I just asked him, like, some of the typical stuff we were going through. I was like, if you went through any of the BS situations where you can't find the property or, like, you can't dispense the order because that's one thing he did say. He was like, I've ran into problems where it won't let me dispense the order. We're talking about Walmart delivery. It's like just like Uber Eats or anything like that.
Yeah, Instacart.
Instacart, yeah. But he was talking about some of the pitfalls, like the not being able to dispense an order because the house wasn't showing up in the correct spot on the GPS or whatever. But he said they enjoy it, and he's like us. He set a goal for every day, what he would make, and it kind of, for a split second, it kind of fired my interest back up.
Yeah.
And I was like, should I hit the ground running on this again? Should I get back on my grind? And because the money, it was a nice supplemental income.
Oh yeah, especially the first maybe month or so.
Yeah,
I was getting it.
When you were motivated, dude. When I first started, and I'm sure you were the same way. That first little bit, you're like, I can do this.
Yeah.
You're thinking I can do this for a living, and you're thinking all these crazy things, and then it takes one running into a ditch and destroying your front bumper, which I did do, to remember that you're using your personal vehicle. You're putting a ton of miles on it. Because my car, I hadn't hardly put any miles on my car up until that point.
Yeah.
And then you're having those days where you're sitting in the parking lot and you're getting 0 orders, or a garbage order where it's paying like $13, and then once you drive 25 miles. Yeah, in
our county or further out of
25 miles, not to mention you're going back to the store or whatever. That's not factoring in the miles, you know. So very quickly I shot myself down off that idea again. Not saying that I wouldn't go back into it, and that's why I didn't totally delete the app or whatever, fire myself or whatever you want to call it, terminate. But it is a lot of wear and tear on your vehicle, and you do go to some sketchy places. That's one thing I was going to say.
Let's kind of dive into that, because you and I have had some very funny conversations about. So again, this Spark delivery service, you kind of have an idea. You'll get an order pop up on your phone that says, you have 3 stops. These are the stops you got to go to. But you don't, unless you remember the person's name or whatever, or the location, you don't really know where you're going until you get there.
Right.
And, for example, I had one, there is a guy, and I hope none of these people ever listen, but there is a guy that lives in the center of town of Clarkson. I show up at his house one day. You can't get to any part of his front porch. He has an extension ladder laid horizontally, going up to a dilapidated deck, and that's the only way to get up to the front porch. Well, you can tell there was a little piece of plywood on top of the ladder, the horizontal. It's probably like a 12-foot extension ladder. And he's got a little piece of plywood where you could step up on it, and then you have to walk across the actual legs or the branches of the ladder to get over to his door to drop his food off.
That's like a game show. Like
oh man, I felt like I was an American Ninja. Like I'm like American Ninja Warrior trying to get
go across monkey bars to get.
Oh man, it was bad. And there was been a few others. We showed up to this. Me and Ashley used to ride. It was almost kind of like date night, because Ashley would ride with me and we'd sit there and socialize.
I think Brad and Carrie are doing some tag teaming on that too.
And she would help too. She would take groceries out. One night we showed up to this lady's house, and the lady had ordered like an entire trunk full of groceries. So as many groceries as you could fit in your trunk.
Fantastic.
they had a long sidewalk, and they had about 1,000 cats. And when I say cats, I'm talking like baby kittens. It must have been 2 litters.
You're kicking them out of the way.
Meow. Seriously, you had to move them out of the way. And as soon as you would sit the bag down, you could tell the cats hadn't been fed because they were just attacking. Well, the only option was you can't. You're not supposed to go in people's houses. That's a rule.
Yeah.
So you would sit it down in the front porch. Well, I'd have to go back to get more bags. By the time I got back to get more bags, there was a whole loaf of bread pretty much eaten because these kittens were eating.
Those cats were like, dinner time.
The funny part about this story is the whole time me and Ashley are bringing groceries from the trunk to this lady's front porch, we see a lady coming out to get the stuff off the porch. There's 2 teenagers in there complaining about something, and then there's a guy in a recliner, like completely kicked back like this, acting like Hank Hill, and he's like,
I think I know
y'all make sure y'all get all that put up, and it's like, how about you get up and help them so these cats aren't eating this bag of all this stuff.
Yeah,
so.
The worst one I went to, as far as scared, was I went to a place that. First of all, it was another one of those situations where the GPS wanted me to go. I'm not going to name the roads or anything, but the GPS wanted me to go on up the hill.
Yeah.
Well, that place looked abandoned and looked really sketchy, and I was pretty confident that wasn't it. So I backed down, and I'm tearing my car all to pieces. At this point, I'm just chalking my car up to a loss.
Yeah.
I've run it into a ditch. I've had to turn around in the middle of the road, and my tires are wore out. Well, I go back down, and I see a gate, like the gate. I think it was an automatic gate, but it was like one of those metal gates.
God, you were in the Branch Davidian complex. God,
yeah. It's all lit up. So I go, I think this might be it. Well, I pull in there, and there's a guy that pulls up in a truck or an SUV, and I tell him I got an order. It was just a pair of boots. Literally a pair. This was going to be a super easy order. I was jacked about this when I got it. I was like, pair of boots. This is easy money. My last order of the day. I pull in. I'm like, I got these boots for so-and-so. And he's like, oh, hold on. He calls the guy. And he's like, you bought some boots? Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're at the right spot. Super nice guy. Well, I pull on in there. And there's this giant, like, wooden, like, it looks like a lighthouse.
Mm-hmm.
And it has a big spotlight on it. This place is all lit up. It's dark. And it's surrounded by, like, storage, like, trailers. That are, like, trailers that you would use on, like, a construction site.
Like a semi-type thing?
Trailer, well, no, like little bitty, like, trailers that, like, contractors would have.
Like a home trailer.
Yeah.
Gotcha, okay.
But like
more for a one-room office
Yeah,
kind of trailer.
like an office. Surrounded by that. And there's like maybe some RVs in there, and it's very Branch Davidian.
You thought David Koresh was going to come out and
it was very Bus People esque. Shout out. So I go in there, and the guy kind of follows me in there. He's doing his own thing, but he's super nice. Well, I give him the boots, and he's got, I can't remember if he brings the guy that actually ordered the boots with him or whatever. I don't remember the whole thing. But anyway, when I go to turn around, it rained a ton, right? It was all gravel in there, but there was mud.
Mm-hmm.
I got my tires in the mud. My tires were wore out. This is before I got new front tires. I got hung up. So I'm hung up, and I'm spinning, and I'm just destroying this mud pile. So I have to go find that guy that let me in. He gets a strap. Very nice guy. Again, pulls me out. I couldn't get out of there quick enough because I was putting it all together in my head. I'm like, spotlight, secluded area in the woods, gate. I'm like, something's going on here.
Yeah.
It's either a compound or it's a meth place. I don't know. I don't want to incriminate these folks because, like I said, the guy that was there was super cool. He pulled me out. But it was a sketchy situation. And those were the kind of things that turned me off of that. Not only the wear and tear to my vehicle, but, there was those scary times like that. And then there was the other times, like you said, going to people's houses and them having cats. I stepped in cat crap one time in somebody's driveway. Might have been the same person. I'm pretty sure it was. So we'll talk about it off the air. But I stepped in cat crap, and I was driving back to Walmart, and I was like, what is that smell? Look on my shoes, dude. So I pulled over at the park by the fire department, and I'm walking around out there, trying to get cat crap off my shoe. And the whole time I'm pretending like I'm talking on the phone so I don't look like a weirdo out in the park walking around. Like, what's this weirdo doing kicking rocks out here in the, So I'm on my phone. My phone has nothing on it. And I'm just rubbing my shoe on the ground. And it was like, those were the kind of, for every, you would have a day where you would just hit like 2 or 3 solid orders. I remember one time I made like $50 to shop a big order. It was a big order, but like 10 of the items were like in a 4-foot section.
Yeah.
It's one of those awesome ones. To take the order right in town. Didn't even have to leave town. It was right in the middle of town. Made like $50. You would have those, and then you'd have like $10 to go all the way to BFE.
Yeah. You'd go out to... Grayson County is a very wide county as far as coverage area. And you would go literally 25 miles in one direction.
Yeah.
And then... if they didn't do the order right, you might have to come all the way back up and go like 10 miles in another direction. And it's like, really?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was just, because there was many a time I would go all the way out to Hart County, like literally Hart County line, and then come back. And it's like, man, like that wasn't even worth the, and that's the main reason. We talk about the reason why we quit. That was one of the main reasons I stopped is when it was around December. Of course, I had all my medical issues.
Yeah.
But it was tax time.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
how
much am I even going to get, how much am I going to have to pay back? So by the time I calculated what I made versus what I had to pay back out of that, it just wasn't worth it to me.
Yeah. Talking about going out in the middle of nowhere, I took a order out to Bear Creek one time and had to cross the creek in my car. They lived on the other side of the creek. It was a small area of the creek, like it wasn't a deep area of the creek, but it was still, I drove my Nissan Maxima through a creek to get to a house. And that was on the directions. They're like, you have to cross the creek. And I was like, this is ridiculous. What am I doing? But no, the taxes, dude, I figured out. So we didn't have a lot of a lot of stuff to get together for our taxes. It wasn't like when Rachel owned the business and all this and that. But just me having that one little form for that couple grand I made cost me an extra whatever in tax preparation. Like, that was another thing that turned me off about it.
Yeah, I had to pay. So normally I just do H&R Block free. I don't get all into it,
Yeah, standard
I just have
W-2s. Yeah.
This year I had that 1099. I had to pay $300 to get my taxes done. So.
Yeah, I paid around that much.
One thing I wanted to get into, we're going to stay away from calling people out. But if anybody's listening, I want you to take note of this conversation because it's very important. As far as tipping went,
I hate it.
When you're, first of all, if you are not a tipper, especially when it comes to people delivering your groceries, rethink your life.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to offend anybody or upset anybody, but tipping is very important because we were paid on orders that you would say were $50 that you got. That is somebody that probably only the order itself was probably only paying $25.
Yeah.
But because of the generous tipper, they paid an additional $25. Maybe they had a $200 item or $200 item, and they paid an additional 10% on top of that. This Spark delivery service does not pay well at all, and it's funny because you can pull into the Walmart parking lot, and if you know the normal Spark drivers, and if they're all sitting in the lot, you know that there's an order
sitting
right now.
Sitting on the hood of their cars?
Yeah, they're sitting on the order. You know that there's an order right now bouncing between 10 or 15 drivers, and what they're saying is this I'm not driving out to Millerstown to deliver groceries for $5 because this person doesn't want to tip.
Yeah, the good ones know how well the tipping is, or how well people tip. But yeah, that was one thing I found out pretty quick that surprised me, I guess, was the discrepancy between what you actually get paid from Spark and what amounts to tips. And you realize pretty quick, and the tips are scary because they can sit in there for 24 hours, right?
Yeah.
They can be adjusted up or down. So you're always like sweating bullets thinking, man, I just did this awesome order, $50, $40, whatever, $45, whatever. But you're watching that tip and you're going, man, I hope it's still there tomorrow, because you don't get those to the next day.
Yeah. And again, I'm not trying to be critical.
Yeah.
But the discrepancy in people type was very odd to me. Like, you would think you pull up to somebody's house that has a very big home, maybe they got nice cars in the driveway, maybe they're awesome tippers, and it's the complete opposite. I'd show up at somebody's home that you can tell probably financially struggles, and they'd give me a $25 tip.
Yeah, or cash tip. I always loved that when you would have tip on the order, plus they'd give you like $5 or whatever. I delivered an order out to a trailer out. It was out in Edmonson County, I think, or out of Netta or whatever.
Right.
And the dude came out. And he had his. He was cool, man. He had a couple old cars out in his like yard, and we were talking about him and stuff. And he gave me like a $5 tip. Yeah. Plus, they had tipped me.
Yeah, they already tipped on the credit card.
And
order,
they had like a small order, but their house was kind of hard to get to. They were a trailer, but you know, it was always nice when the people would, you know, acknowledge you and come out, give you a tip, come out and like help you get the stuff out, even though, you know, I'd be like, you know, I can bring it, I'll bring it to you, whatever.
Some really good people out there that did do that. And then there's some people that were just, oh man.
You talk about not going in the houses. I did take an order in a house. It was an elderly couple that actually where I destroyed my front bumper. They gave me a cash tip, but I took their stuff, put it right inside the door. But man, you see a lot of stuff that you see. So one thing I liked about it was driving around and seeing parts of the county that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah, exactly.
But then it's like a double-edged sword because you see really nice places that you're like, man, I wish I had this place or whatever. Like, how can they afford this? And then you see places that are sad and depressing. Yeah. I took an order to an elderly person at one of the, what's the apartments over there at the bypass right across from the hospital? You know, it's a big apartment building.
Oh, I know what you're talking about, but I can't.
Been there forever.
Not Grayson Manor, but I know what you're talking about.
Well, there's a lot of, that's like an elderly assisted living, I guess. Yeah. And I took an order to a person, and when I took it in there, a guy met me in there, and he kind of told me the situation. He was like, she probably didn't even know she ordered it. Yeah. And when we knocked on the door, we went in there to her apartment, and she was like asleep, and she had stuff out on the counter. It was like, I think like ground beef or chicken or something that was setting out.
I remember you telling me the story. Yeah, the meat had been sitting out for a while. They didn't put it up.
And so it kind of made sense. The guy's like, she don't even know, man, that she's ordering the stuff, or that she's got it on like a, I don't know if you can have like a, something set
like
up.
Like a renewal
type of deal. But then you see stuff like that and you're just like, dang, man, like, I'm just going to put chips up. That's not too depressing. I mean, you know, I do see a lot of crazy stuff in Dollar Generals, don't get me wrong, or gas stations or whatever, but you know,
like you said, some of the people's situations you would go out to, not trying to turn this down to like a depressing podcast, but you'd get down to like, and I ain't trying to call out areas, but like Caneyville, there was a place I went to in Caneyville. I mean, it was a trailer park that just looked like an atomic bomb had hit. And I thought, when I pulled up that hill, first of all, when I'm going up the hill in my little blue Sentra, you're dodging craters. Yeah. But not potholes, craters that sunk down into the dirt. There was no concrete even there. So I'm driving up through there, and I'm telling you, man, like, I thought a nuclear bomb had hit. It looked like, for anybody who's played the video game Borderlands or Fallout, it looked like an encampment from one of those. They're just missing the underskirting of the trailers, and I mean, I thought, man, nobody could possibly be living here. And I'm not trying to be mean or nasty. It's just, you do feel sorry for some of those people. That have to live
it makes you feel sorry for them. It makes you appreciate what you have. Like, you get, you know, I got home from a lot of those days, and you know, you would have days where maybe you did 3 or 4 orders, and every one of them was like that, where you went out way out in the middle of nowhere, you know, and you're just like, dang, like, you don't have it that bad after all.
And you and I are not doing that as our main income. I mean, I was doing that to pay off a few bills and for me and Ashley to go do cool stuff. You know what I'm saying? So here I am, you know, getting a $50 order to go deliver something, and then going to Texas Roadhouse that night to spend that $50. You know what I'm saying? So like,
it's, you know, it's weird, man. And we do have, I feel like that's one thing like our county has, and I'm sure it's everywhere now. We have like a big gaps sometimes, and you can go to one house that's like, dang, this is a $2 million house, and then just a few miles down the road be like a really rundown, rough place. And you're like, that's all in the same county.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I know that's the country too. You know what I mean? Like in a nutshell, there's a big gap between wealth and poor, and everybody talks about there's not a lot of middleman. And not to get like you were talking about, like sad and depressed and political by any means, but it is crazy that kind of job is where you see the gaps.
You see every point of life. You know what I mean?
And
the people live in their worst life, and the people live in their best life.
Yeah. And I probably saw it when I was at Walmart.
Yeah.
Just seeing the people come in and shop. You always knew when it was first of the month or whatever. People getting checks. But you don't pay attention as much as when you go to a person's home.
Yeah.
Then you're like, dang, like, this is nuts. You know what I mean?
And I don't want to judge people by what kind of house they live in or anything.
That's not what we're saying. We're not making fun of people by any means. I'm not. And a lot of those people are some of the nicest people. When you did those deliveries. Like you said, they tipped the best, and they helped you get your stuff, or they'd have their kids go out there and help you get the stuff. And a lot of times at the wealthy places, you'd just be dropping it. I took one.
They wouldn't
out.
come to the door.
Man, I took one, and it had lunch meat and everything to a house, and I don't know that anybody was even home. There was a dog running around out there, but it was a beautiful house. I mean, just a awesome looking house. I was ready to tell the person, like, man, your house is amazing, because I always say that.
Yeah.
Like, nice property, or thank you, for whatever, if they came out and helped or whatever. I try to interact with them. Like, I didn't want to be just a, here's your stuff, because, that help your approval ratings and all that, and that helps you get better orders, I guess. I don't know.
I took a lot of pride in it.
You want to take pride in it. Yeah.
They're in November and December, I'm dressing up like Santa Claus, delivering, it was fun. It was a fun thing. And similar to you, I did not terminate my employment.
Yeah.
If something ever happens with this job and I have to do it again, all I have to do is, right now at this point, sign back in, and I think I have to upload my real ID. But other than that, I have to say, hey, I'm ready to give me orders,
Yeah.
But,
it's a shame we don't live in a world where we can just rely on our one job.
Yeah. Because you work multiple now,
Yeah. I mean, that second job's hardly a job. But it's, it's still necessary. I think about quitting all the time. That second job, that little side, that's my side hustle. I don't even call it a job, because it's like it would be an excellent job for a kid in high school. Like I told Maggie a lot of times, I was like, you just need to take over my milk merchandising job. Like it's very little hours, but it would be gas money, this and that. But then I couldn't see her in there.
I'm gonna let Travis talk for just a second here.
Oh, wonderful!
Yeah,
talk about
you
myself.
keep on talking about that, man.
Yeah. So anyway, we're gonna go down the politics. Yeah, Thomas snuck out for a minute, so it's just me. So awkward time with Travis is what you got right now. Thoughts to ponder. Let me think. No, for real, guys, when we're talking about the delivery stuff, we're not trying to talk crap about Spark or Walmart delivery or any type of delivery job or the people that we deliver to. Again, it's just kind of to shed light on why we chose to do those things and why we chose not to do them. But something for y'all to think about out there. I think that, a lot of people seem to be going that route of doing those kind of delivery jobs and stuff like that just because they're so accessible. And there's a lot of them. So, if anything, just take what we're talking about as a little bit of our own personal experience as if you all might want to get into that business or side hustle or whatever. I think our stories are probably similar to a lot of people's.
Oh, yeah.
That do that kind of stuff. So just take it, with a grain of salt and take it for what you will.
Yeah, sorry for the step away, guys. For those of you all who don't know, I deal with a lot of urological problems, and today...
now we're getting into the fun stuff.
Oh, yeah, man, yeah. So today, I don't know if I'm having a reappearance of some problems or what, but I have gone to the bathroom, let's see, since I woke up probably 7 or 8 times now.
Really? Dang, dude.
You know, and a lot of it was during a very short period of time. So I don't know. I deal with a lot of problems. You know, we've talked about medical stuff, so I don't want to go down that road. But I have potential surgery coming up. I've got to meet on July 11th with June 11th with a surgeon for what, I don't know how graphic I want to get into this, for what I thought was going to be, if you can imagine how old people eat their hot dogs and cut them open to make them.
Yeah.
But instead, thank God, my urologist told me that is like worst case scenario. So potentially not that. But anyway, health is just, man, we've talked about it, beat it to death.
Yeah.
Health is just so, especially as we get older, sight, vision, everything.
I'd like to complain about a lot of my aches and pains and things. My knee was acting weird. I was at home the other day and I got down and like leaned down on my knee, down on your knees, just getting something, and felt a weird pain, man. Like weird pain in the back of my knee. I thought I'd like torn my ACL.
Oh, man.
And didn't have any strength in it for a while, and it's worked itself out. So it's just but that's all just getting older, aches and pains, doing a job that I do where I do get up and down a lot, and so I don't even want to talk about that with the stuff you got going on most of the time. I feel bad because you've got, you've had a lot of health issues the last couple of years. But I often wonder, like, when I felt that, I thought, man, if I was, I don't know if I told you, but when I got my shot for my poison ivy, which we did. I think we lost all that, but I had really nasty poison ivy. I'm highly allergic, so I had to go get a steroid shot a couple weeks ago.
When we lost that video was when you were getting ready to show
the leg.
Show the leg.
Yeah, so well, it's all nice tall socks, but it's all just dead skin now. It's grown. It's healed up nicely, which I probably got it again yesterday, so it could be off or not. But they weighed me, and I hadn't weighed myself. I told you, I think we may have talked about it on here when we started our working out, or I started my working out a couple months after you and eating better and stuff. I never did weigh myself, but I was pretty confident that I was probably around 210, 215.
Gotcha.
I weighed 183.
Awesome. Wow.
I was like, dang, I hadn't weighed 183 since I was probably in high school.
I was in probably kindergarten or first. No, I'm just kidding.
You're like, I think it's on my birth certificate, 183. Yeah. 6'2", 183, not bragging or nothing. But so I finally know how much I kind of hover around. I figured it was 185. But I thought I'd maybe lost around 20 pounds, but I wonder if I was still 215, if I would have been able to get up out of the floor when that thing did with my knee, because it hurt so bad. And I was like, if I'm still having these aches and pains, even though I'm taking better care of myself, how much worse would it have been if I hadn't started?
Right. Yeah, exactly. We often share progress pics with each other. Yeah. He sent me one the other day where he looked like freaking Jason Statham, like 100%.
I don't know about that.
Like a 12-pack, chest
12-pack of beer in the background, probably. No, I hope you don't. I felt like me and you have always been, a lot of it's just being goofy, but we used to,
Yeah,
so I do feel like, in that, I like when you do that. When you send a progress pic, we'll joke about it. I'll send you one, and I think it just keeps us motivated, and that's why I do it. I don't do it to brag. I'm not sending you a picture because I want to brag. I'm sending you a picture because I powered through a workout. I was maybe a little proud of myself because I didn't want to, but we've talked so much about how hard it is to stay motivated. I feel like when we get those little wins where we actually power through it and the results are there and we're seeing them, we should send each other this stuff and brag on each other and lift each other up. And that's what it's there for, to keep each other motivated. Yeah. But I sent it to you because I was like, sometimes when we send it on the group thing, I think those guys probably think we're gross. They don't want to see our shirtless pics and stuff like that. And, and I certainly don't want them to think we're bragging.
Yeah.
or that we're holier than thou because we're working out. That's not, again, not what it's there for.
And it's
just
funny
keeping each other accountable.
It's funny because sometimes it may come off that way. You know what I mean?
It probably does.
It stresses me out because I'm like, do I want to send this?
Yeah.
Or what are they thinking? But at the same time, Brian, he's been asking questions about keto, so he's been trying to get into it. But no, I'm with you. I've definitely kind of been on the fence about should I do it, but I usually do, especially, even going back to my younger days when we played ball, even though they were like shirts and skins. I've always been a first person to be like, hey, let me take my shirt off, even when I'm
baby.
Not been attractive to do so.
We used to do it as fun. Remember, we would always that'd be the first thing we'd say when we played ball. We'd be like, all right, we skin up,
take shirt off. I'm already off.
Yeah,
sweat and everything everywhere.
It's that it's fun to send those pics and still be kind of youthful about it, I guess. Like I said, we don't think we're fitness influencers by any means, but like we're old guys just trying to stay healthy, trying to look as good as we can, feel as good as we can. So,
And sometimes the thing I notice too about the process of working out and the process of losing weight, for the longest time, Travis, I did not realize my change. You know what I'm saying? Like Ashley would make the comment, oh, you're looking different. Or my mom and dad, people who don't see you on a normal basis would definitely be like, hey, you've lost some weight. But when I look in the mirror, I'd be like, I feel like I have the same exact body.
Yeah.
Even now, like if I go in there and take a shower, we've got those big old mirrors like above our thing.
Did I not tell her to take these mirrors out?
Yeah, I'm like, man, I still look so big, and it discourages me. But when you do take those what's the word I'm looking for? Progress pics.
I had to think about it a minute.
When you flex or you're doing different things with your body and you can actually see a difference that you've never seen, it does help your mentality a little bit.
It feels good when you see, a muscle that hasn't ever pumped or whatever, or the upper abs. I hadn't seen those guys in a long time.
They look good.
I forgot they were even there. I was like, hey, them boys are back. I had started getting that beer belly, quote unquote, more from just hamburger belly. But, but it's tough. I'm still in that, funk we were talking about, that it's harder and harder to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anytime I get, just like the landscaping thing, man, like I was bummed about that. And then you sent me a picture of your sidewalk and it kind of motivated me to get it together about that. So it's kind of, kind of works that way too. And other things, not just the working out, but.
And we send like recipe pictures of food, and like things you've cooked. All that stuff kind of helps.
I bought a big bunch of stuff. I'm going to try to make some desserts. I found some new YouTubers that are making some killer like keto desserts and stuff. Of course, I bought the ingredients; they're just sitting in the fridge now. I don't know if I'll ever get around to making it. Everything that's low carb, that's a dessert that pretty much has heavy whipping cream, cream cheese, sometimes sour cream. It's all like the same ingredients. So I just bought a bunch of crap, and I'm like, I'm gonna make a ice cream, and then I'm like, I get home and I'm like, it's like the rock thing. I'm like, let me watch 150 videos, and then now I'm not doing it. I'm watching other people do it. So one of these days I'll just dive in, make me a nice keto cheesecake with a pecan crust.
Yeah,
it sounds good anyway.
One topic I did want to dive into real quick before you got to go, because I know you're kind of in a hurry today, and I debated on bringing this up because it involves my son. Ashley didn't want me to bring it up, but I'm going to take it from a positive standpoint, as far as I'm not going to bash Aiden about it. But Aiden recently got in trouble for bullying at school. He was part of a group of kids that were making fun of a kid and doing some things, but it sounded to me, once I heard the story, of kind of like normal boy horseplay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If the kid got his feelings hurt, then I agree 100% they were bullying. They shouldn't have done it. But a lot of the stuff that was going on is stuff me and you would have been doing when we was 12, 13, 14 years old.
Or probably getting done to us.
It 100% getting done to us. Me especially the tone that this had. But the reason why I want to bring this up is I want to bring it up because the punishment. So, Grayson County Middle School, if you're listening to this, if you ever listen to it, take note.
Uh-oh.
You cannot punish somebody multiple times for the same thing. So, in my opinion, you shouldn't. If you've already punished them. So, Aiden was called to the office. The principal called Ashley. Aiden asked them not to call me because he knew that I was going to
nice.
give him a nice ripping. So
he's like, I don't have a dad. He just makes up
sorry.
Who's your dad?
They give him a random number of some guy. And
it's a prisoner.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So Ashley is at work. She gets the voicemail and she says, will you call them and see what they want? So it had to come to me anyway.
Oh, great.
So, of course, I call up, I find the deal. So keep in mind, they've contacted us once now because they've called Ashley. They send Aiden home, and whenever they talk to me, I told her, I said, from a disciplinary standpoint, he's going to be disciplined when he gets home. You have nothing to worry about. So he gets...
You're like, I'm going to beat the brakes off this kid.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I'm just kidding.
He gets home. He has a letter from the principal that we have to sign.
Nice.
Then, a couple days later, we receive the same letter in the mail by envelope, like snail mail. So
Gotcha.
3 times we've been notified that he had detention in school, that he had this incident that he was involved in. His role in this, so y'all are aware, I don't want y'all to think Aiden's a bad kid. His role was very minor. Was he still involved? Yes, needs to be punished. I'm not taking any kind of thing away from that. But he was not one of the primary. He was just part of a group that was doing it.
Guilty by association, I guess. Maybe a little.
So the next phase of this is he serves his detention, and here at home he's got a disciplinary. He's grounded. He can't do anything at home.
Right.
He goes in a following day after the detention and everything. I think a weekend goes by. He goes into school, and I'm freezing to death. I don't know if you could tell. Like, I'm shivering.
It's cold.
It's very cold in here. He goes into class. His band teacher tells him that he is not able to participate in a field trip that is not school. It's school related because it's when school school is over at this point. So it's when the water park opens up at Holiday World. He's not allowed to go on a Holiday World trip with his band team.
Yeah.
I think that's unfair because I feel like it's band related. It shouldn't be, but they did. I sent her this long message and they said, well, y'all signed a policy agreement that he's not going to have bad behavior. So I get it, whatever. So that happens. Fast forward a couple days later, they have a movie in his 5th or 6th period class, and I get told that he couldn't watch the movie and that he had to write a 500-word essay because he was still, again, a few days later, part of this bullying thing. Ashley calls up there and, wants to get more information, which I agree with. Why do we keep getting punished, or not we, why does Aiden keep getting punished for the same incident? If you've already given him detention, you've already taken the band trip from him.
And he's not a repeat offender.
And he's not, he's been a good kid, guys. Overall, he's got a good heart. He's been a good kid in school. We've never had detention. He's never had anything like that. Now all of a sudden, it's a one incident, and it just makes me to the point. Like I told Ashley, I said I'm almost to the point where I'm gonna take him out and put him in Bethel or Hope Christian Academy. I said this is stupid that he's being. And
it's
to add to the top of it, real quick, the same thing that he got in trouble for has happened to him this year in school. He was in the bathroom one day and a kid pulled his pants down. He continues to be called, like fat. He's a bigger kid, so stuff like that. Stuff that me and you had to deal with all the time as a kid. Happens to him, and I'm not trying to justify because, like I said, I'm punished him.
Yeah, and they are that. I think the anti-bullying stuff is something that's like a big emphasis now.
Yeah,
but it's almost like you wish they would have out front said, okay, he's not gonna be able to do this. It's like he kept getting hit with stuff.
Yeah,
and it's like, dang,
give
when's
me
this
the
ever
discipline list.
Yeah.
When you called me and said, hey, he's got detention. Well, he's got detention, and because of detention, he can't do this, and this.
They could have.
Don't keep doing it.
They could have just said any extracurricular stuff outside of regular schoolwork. Okay, if there's any movie being played or any field day or whatever, he can't do it for a week or whatever. But it's like he kept thinking, okay, the situation's over, and then he come in and get hit with something else.
Yeah.
So I get it.
And you talk about bullying, like I remember, and bullying has changed so much because of school shootings and violence in school. Yeah. But I mean, I remember one time being in like 4th or 5th grade, and I was peeing one time in like a stall, and like a kid came up and kicked me in the back. Like I'm gonna do this on the video, but like that, so where I pushed forward. And of course, when you're peeing and you have that action, like pee just goes everywhere.
Disaster.
I peed all over my pants, peed all over.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was bullied in school all the time. Especially my 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade. I got bigger, so started to get some belly fat and stuff like that. I was called fat and different things. So I get it completely that it's unacceptable. But like you said, I'm more complaining about the discipline process. Give us everything up front.
Yeah, it maybe feels a little. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's tough, man. I don't know. Bullying is and I feel like that's probably an umbrella term now too. Like they're going to take anything as bullying.
Horseplays, bullying.
Which, like I said, we don't condone it by any means. I feel like kids are. I feel like it's tough what kids have to go through now, man. Like the social media and kids can't really escape the troubles of issues at school or like beefs with other kids. Like you can't ever escape it because when they get home they still got all the social media and all that. A lot of times I wish Maggie didn't have any of that stuff, but I mean I know she's a girl, soon to be 16-year-old girl. So I don't I'm not envious of the situation kids are in now.
Oh yeah. And for any of y'all, who, like I said, the people listening in Grayson County, we've had a big thing happen this week with the porn thing, and I worry when you talk about what kids have to go through.
That's tough.
I can't imagine what the teenage girls that were on the website are going to now have to go through. You know what I'm saying? Because granted, so what I'm talking about for those listening is there was a gentleman. I don't want to get in the weeds on this because
gentleman's
so man.
That's a far-fetched.
Man or a
there
criminal.
Was a dude.
We'll say a criminal.
There was a person
that had taken pictures off people's social media sites and had taken pictures of people in public, different things, and had posted them to a non-reputable site, something you wouldn't want to go to, right? So a porn site, basically. And we're talking kids, 16, 15, 14-year-olds. I don't know what the earliest age is, and then people up in age.
Yeah.
But the point of it is, I couldn't imagine being a father, in your situation, being a father, if I would have found Maggie on this page, I don't know what I would do, but there, going back to the bullying discussion, I mean, there's so many things that, kids look for that, you could have a boy that could easily be like, hey, I found you on such and such site, and that's just not something you want to go
That
with.
whole deal was rough. I'm glad the smoke's, I won't say it's settled, but I guess people haven't been talking about it as much probably the last day or so.
Yeah.
But that was a very disturbing deal, and you hate to hear that kind of stuff come up in your community. I mean,
I would have never thought. You know what I mean? You don't think that stuff.
Yeah, and I didn't even know. I mean, I know porn sites exist and all that, but I didn't know that there was which call me naive, I guess, but just a market, I guess, so to speak, for pictures, just regular stock pictures
Yeah, these weren't naked. So what we're referring
senior
to is
pictures,
just,
Facebook profile pictures, whatever.
They might have been in bikinis, but most of them were fully clothed. And we're talking 18,000 uploads.
Yeah.
So we're not talking pages. Like 20 pictures here. We're talking almost 20,000 pictures of community people in Grayson County that were.
But we obviously were like, well, should we find out if our daughter's on there? So, we debated looking. Rachel did look for a little while, but I told her, because we have a friend, and I'm not going to say any names, that his daughter was on there.
Yeah.
Fully clothed pictures stolen from Facebook or whatever, and he was upset, rightfully so. And so he was the one who was kind of telling me where to look and all this and that. But his thing he told me was, because I asked him, I was like, how'd you know? And he said the night that it all broke, they were getting phone calls immediately, like clockwork, like people calling them saying, listen, wow, you need to find out, blah, blah. And so I kind of told Rachel, I said, listen, I feel like we would know already.
Right.
Instead of you going onto this nasty site, disgusting stuff, like, instead of ruining our iPad on there, she
burns.
It just disintegrates. I said, you can stop doom scrolling, I guess, and because somebody would probably tell us. And then I talked to Brad yesterday about it, and he said the same thing. He said I was looking for people that I know because I wanted to warn them. He said, and he looked through like 70 pages of it and didn't see anybody that I guess, and so I felt like everybody was trying to look out for everybody on that deal, but it was unfortunate, man. It's usually it's meth in the news or something.
Yeah, I was
like
gonna say when we have something hit the news, you want it to be something positive. Grayson County won a tournament or this or that. And now all of a sudden we're in the news for something like this, and it's not reached national stuff or anything, but there's definitely some big news state WBKO and different ones have had it, but it's just a shame something like that's happened in our area. This podcast today, guys, has been kind of
all over the place.
It's all over the place, and it's not been super funny like our normal ones. But I think it's just been important to.
Well, maybe we did kind of go through a lot of stuff. I mean, we went through some lighthearted stuff, and then got a little heavy at the end. But I mean, sometimes, you and I talk about everything. We talk all the time. We've always shared deep conversations. So sometimes they probably are gonna venture off into whatever, and we do try to keep up with current events and stuff like that. So I feel like that last thing was probably the biggest current event going on in our town right now, affecting a lot of people. And if anybody hears this that was affected by that, I'm sorry to hear that, and keep your head up, and hopefully,
I'm sure there's support out there too. Yeah. I'm sure they'll have some legal support and some.
Yeah, that's what we were like. I think they said what to do. Rachel, she was like, "Well, you're supposed to do this. Contact this and this person or whatever, the authorities or whatever." So, but if anybody's out there that was affected by that, shout out to you. Keep your head up. Hopefully, all this stuff gets taken down and smoothed over, and justice is served or whatever.
Yep, I agree. At some point I wanted to, with this podcast, have a little spiritual conversation, but I think it's a good time for everybody just to be in prayer for our community. You know what I mean? When you have something like that hit, whether however it be, just be in prayer for others, be in prayer for. And just, sometimes some of the fallout of it was a lot of hate on Facebook going around. One thing I just really wish people would kind of understand is you gotta have still love in your heart. Jesus called all of us to be to love each other first as you love yourself. So just continue to love each other and pray for each other. But we will end this podcast today, and we'll wish Travis a lot of luck on his fire pit, and
I'm gonna need it.
We'll have some more fun outlook. One of these days soon, we're gonna dive into a lot of entertainment. I know we want to get into some movies. Travis and I, movie buffs. Like if we could be in a pop culture quiz or tournament, I feel like me and you, especially movie related, would destroy it.
Well, it'd be up to a certain probably year, because the last 20 years I probably haven't watched. I've probably, maybe watched 20 new movies, but if you get me with the 80s and 90s and stuff, I told a guy the other day, quick story. This guy that works for Little Debbie, I saw him at Walmart, and Peter Gabriel song was playing overhead. And we were singing it, and I was like, "You like some Peter Gabriel, huh?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you know who Peter Gabriel, what band he was in before he went solo?" And I was like, "Yeah, Genesis." And he was shocked that I knew the answer. And I was like, "Brother," I said, "I can't tell you anything about history, politics, all the important stuff, but I've got a whole wealth of knowledge, of useless knowledge of pop culture, movies,
music.
I'm just waiting for Pop Culture Jeopardy to call me.
Anything 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, you can count us in.
Definitely. So we'll dive into that maybe soon. Get a little lighthearted episode coming out soon.
But all right, guys, it was fun talking with y'all today, and we'll see you again.
See you.